I was inspired by one of Reformed Mythologist's video on Twilight of the Gods, which depicted the transition of the Viking world towards Christianity. One of the books he mentioned was the book named the Heliand, the biblical gospels written in a way that sounded more Viking to the listener than the usual King James version. So I decided to add biblical imagery to the banners, shields, and books across the scene. If you look closely, you'll find that the banners and shields represent the 12 tribes of Israel, which I took artistic liberty by adding a sigil that represents each tribe's vocation according to biblical sources I found in the Bible and across the internet. Also, the papers and open books have actual Old Testament scriptures written on them in Hebrew. And after finishing this environment, of course, I started thinking that if fandoms are formed through games like God of War, Assassin's Creed, or Ghost of Tsushima, where the fans gave sincere interest in Norse, Egyptian, or Shinto mythologies, why not make art that depicts the Christian faith? That's also why I kind of named this the Heliand's Way, because in English it translates to the Savior's Way. So yeah, the process of the environment is relatively simple. I started with a concept that is a departure from the usual angular interior where majority of the corners are mostly in 90 degrees. The design that appealed to me were the curved and rounded spaces in the ancient world, such as the Celtic roundhouse and the Roman Pantheon. I also wanted to add verticality to the space by dividing the interior into 3 levels, which are the ground floor, throne platform, and the ceiling area. After that, I created a blackout for the scene, which I also used as an underlay for the platform concept art, which was very important to me since it's the main focus of the scene. The modular pieces are generally measurable in meters, so the pieces fit together seamlessly when in rendered view. For the materials, going for the tiling textures was the most efficient. Starting with the wooden plank, 5 variations were created since the whole interior was made mostly of planks, similar to the ancient Nordic homes, which was the main inspiration for the environment anyway. For the floors, I wanted to break up the wooden frame of the throne room with a ground material made of 3 rock variations, then 2 variations of metals for the metallic components found in the doors and other props. For the props, I went for real-world scale measurements to keep the scene believable when bringing the character in-game. One method I found really useful for building props is by creating primitive shapes first of the prop and then overlaying it with a 2D drawing for quick concept art. That way, it'll be easier to give full attention to the actual asset creation instead of having the attention split between designing and modeling at the same time. So for the furniture, boxes, and barrels, I went for the full RGB mask workflow for the sake of texture consistency. That's where the 5 wood material variations comes in handy. For the banners, shields, and carpets, I decided to draw designs for 2D to show the lore behind the 12 tribes, since these props are essential to the world building. They were then used for the RGB masks for detail. For variation and breaking away from repeating textures, utilizing the vertex painting tools in UE5 gave the whole environment an aged look, which was exactly what I was going for. Then lastly, of course, what I've learned is that the iteration process actually took a lot longer than the actual asset creation. So I found that note-taking and sketching between each iteration really helped with fresh ideas for future changes. I found that thoughts really get cloudy when focused way too much on the process and not having enough breathing room for your mind to absorb creative ideas outside of the current project. Doing this usually gives an overview of the project instead of being tunnel visioned by enhancing the visual fidelity the whole time. So resting is actually the key. So yeah, that's it. I hope it inspires you the way that it inspired me to create this. And if you found this useful, I have other videos available on the playlist section of YouTube. And that's it. Take care and goodbye.